The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 900. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. You can now purchase The Tao of Self-Confidence, a guide to moving beyond trauma and awakening the leader within on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, Walmart, Indigo, and other major book retailers. Get your copy today. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to The Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a phenomenal lady on the show today. She is the Director, Supplier Diversity Inclusion at Johnson & Johnson, and I'm super excited to have her on today. She's also part of the USPAACC WISE Women cohort, and really honored to interview her today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Charlene Vickers. Hi, Charlene. How are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Hi, Sheena. Thank you so much for having me today. And hello, everyone who's listening. And thank you for taking the time to do that. I am, as Sheena mentioned, I've been with the Johnson & Johnson family of companies for over 25 years now in a number of different roles in their supply chain organization. My background is I'm actually a native New Jerseyan, East Orange, New Jersey specifically. And so I grew up as an only child in a single parent household, but I had the great benefit of having a lot of family around. So I have a set of cousins that we were raised together. So I always say I had the best of both worlds. I had all the accoutrements of an only child, but then I also have these wonderful cousins that are really more like siblings to me. So I grew up in New Jersey, then I left for college and went to an historically Black college university in North Carolina A&T State University, and where I pursued a degree in industrial engineering. After which I entered the work world, first with General Electric, and then did a short stint with another company and moved over to Johnson & Johnson, and have done a number of different roles since being with the company until I landed this role today.
Awesome. Well, first off, congrats. That is amazing, to be able to be working for a big company and having such a great role, a big role. I mean, we definitely need more, women in high corporate roles, especially women of color, just to, for me, representation is really important. And when we see other women out there up to the top, it shows us what's possible. So I just wanted to say congrats to that. And Charlene, what's your cultural background?
So my background is I am a African-American female. I was born in the United States, in fact, upstate New York. And we also, just to further describe myself, I'm a tall woman. I aspire to be a 36, 24, 36, but let's just say right now, I'm a large frame African-American female.
Thanks for sharing that. And Charlene, what'd be your favorite self-confidence quote?
My favorite self-confidence quote, and probably my favorite quote of all time, is actually found in Hamlet, one of the Shakespearean plays. And that quote is, "To thine own self be true." And it is where the character Polonius, who was like an advisor to the king, was talking to his son, and he gave him that advice. And, I read Hamlet back in high school, and that's the quote that's always stuck with me. And I think it relates very directly to self-confidence, because I believe that to really develop self-confidence, which, I believe is part of which is believing in yourself and who you are, you have to know who you are and remain true to the person that we're created to be. So that's the reason why that quote has always resonated.
I love that quote, and it's so true. To show up as our authentic self isn't always easy. And when we stay true to our authentic self, that's when everything starts to, appear. Magic happens because there's no one like you, right? Even though there's like 8 billion people in the world, there's only one of you. So I really love that quote that you mentioned. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
Yeah, and I think your commentary back is just a great segue into that discussion, because, indeed, we should really appreciate what you said, right? There's only one of us, right? Even twins, like identical twins, right, who share DNA, have different characteristics. And I believe that we were all created with certain gifts, skills, and abilities and purpose for why we're here. I believe that, we're not here just by happenstance, but that we were created for a specific purpose. And so for me, self-confidence really is about the inner state of our being that allows us to embrace our strengths as well as acknowledge areas that, maybe some would call them weaknesses, and yet maintain a positive outlook on ourselves and the capabilities that we have. I think it's really about, growing to appreciate who we are as the individual, again, that we were created to be, and really walking in that strength and leaning in. I think really leaning into and understanding our strengths. And in those areas that may not be considered strengths, having the confidence to, connect with others who can provide, complementary, supplementary type capabilities to help us to extend and expand our impact. Because I do believe everyone is created to have some type of impact while we're on this journey called life.
I love that definition, and it's so true. We're all here for a reason, and we have certain strengths and weaknesses that can help us build our confidence, our courage to go out there and make an impact on this world. So I love that you mentioned that. And Charlene, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I love this question. And Sheena, this is actually an area that I have a lot of passion. And now I'm going to sound like an old lady, but I'm okay with that because I am 55. And this is an area where this is one of those places where I wish I knew some of what I know now when I was younger. So I have a real passion around talking with women and helping them to maybe kind of get there sooner, if you will, on this journey, i.e. to a place of which they know who they are and they have that confidence. So what was like before, I would say I got to this place some years ago. I think it was not understanding my purpose. So floundering somewhat. I mean, I'm blessed that, I've had a lot of different life experiences that have added to who I am. But in terms of being on that quest to kind of figure out, okay, what am I here? And quite frankly, I think it took some years to even get to a place. I probably was in my 30s before I even really started asking that question, right? What am I here for? Now, of course, when we look back over our lives, we can kind of see the things that we gravitated to, and that helps to inform our purpose, but not just that kind of not knowing. So really just kind of moving through life without I would say, kind of a plan around, where I wanted to get to in life. I've always known that I want to live a life that has impact, positive impact on society and on others. But it was more around, okay, how do I shape that? How do I structure that? What does that look like? I wasn't able to get to that until I was able to pen what my purpose is and look at my skills and capabilities that I had and how I could really fully leverage that and lean into that to build, to create that plan and to really start to live the life that brings me the most joy, which is, again, a life of impact.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think many of the listeners can relate to this, right? Sometimes we know what our purpose is, but we don't know how to go about it. And as women, we feel like we have to know everything before we even start walking that purpose, not realizing, actually, you don't have to know anything. You just know you have a purpose, and we can always figure it out along the way, because men do that all the time. When you ask men, they're like, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm like, seriously, you don't know, but you got there anyway. So it's just proof that we don't have to know everything. We can go out there and make it happen. And I've been there too. I knew I had a purpose, but I was lost. I was wandering around. People questioned what I was doing. And it was tough because it can be a big confidence downer because they're like looking down on you, like, what are you doing with your life? And you have a path, but you just don't know what that looks like and how to get there. And sometimes because we don't know, we feel like we're incompetent. So I totally understand where you're coming from. And, what was that point in your life when you realized, oh my God, I can do this. Like I can make it happen. What was that aha moment?
I think I've had probably several aha moments. So there's two I'll cite. One is I was close to turning 40. And I do kind of feel like just in talking with other people that's like a pivotal time in a lot of people's lives, especially women. And I remember I was married at the time, and I remember saying to my now ex-husband, I just looked at him one day and I said, I have no idea who I am. That's like a direct quote because I was just so kind of all over the place in my head in terms of that. And so I took this class. This one happened to be a Christian-based class, but it basically walked you through a process to kind of deal with some of the not so pleasant life experiences. And through that process, kind of it helps to at least get you on the path to figure out what your purpose is. And so that was an aha moment for me in terms of understanding how some of the things that I experienced in life were actually inhibiting me from getting to a place that I understood purpose. I think then the second experience that I had that stands out is that, are you familiar with Strength Finders by chance? It's actually a tool, and it's in a Gallup suite of tools. So Strength Finders is within the Gallup suite of tools, but basically the whole premise of it is kind of one of those personality profile things, but the whole premise of it is that it helps you to identify your strengths, right? And once you do that, then you can really build, right, and lean into those strengths versus focusing on how do I fix these things, these weaknesses over here. And it'll give you the top 5 strengths and then kind of like a whole strength profile. And so when we went, I took my team, the team that I was leading at the time, through that exercise. And, the strengths that were identified really resonated with me so strongly. And so one of the strengths was activation, right? And I get to, and it resonated strongly because I love to ideate and identify things and plan and kind of strategize and develop a plan and get alignment and then hand it off to somebody to execute. I love to activate, right, and get new ideas, really good ideas in motion. So I think that was probably another one of the aha moments that really helped me to say, hey, there are some things that you're really good at. It related very well to what I started to work on and develop around my purpose, which I actually ended up creating a whole process to walk other people to how to, kind of figure out what your purpose are, looking at your values and all those things. And so that work we did with Strength Finders really helped to reinforce some of those things that I was starting to discover about myself. I do want to come back to something you said, though, in terms of how when you are the pressure that women have to know all the answers. And I think that is so, so true because when there's data out there where, even if you look at children, right, look at, elementary age boys and elementary age girls, even there we start to see that difference in the confidence factor and how boys will, just kind of go for it sometimes, and little girls feel like they need to have answers and so forth. So I think that's such an important point for us as women to really think about, and it contributes to, like you said, can make you feel incompetent. It contributes to the imposter syndrome, which a lot of women deal with. And I always tell people I deal with it too. And most people say, I don't believe that, but it's very true. I've gotten better. But it contributes to that imposter syndrome because we feel like we don't deserve to be at the table. And I just want to say to every woman that's listening, you absolutely deserve to be at the table. You don't have to have every single I dotted, every T crossed. Stand up in your strength and just go for it.
Thanks for sharing that. And I love that. And it's so true. I still go through imposter syndrome. I'm always like, are you sure you want me for this? Are you sure you want me for that? And it's something that I have to learn to work with and unlearn and realize my own strengths so that I can show others what's possible. And so I love that you mentioned that. And because of your realizations, what's your life been like now?
Yeah, I think my life now is I live life, I feel like, a lot more deliberately. Now, I will also say, again, going back to being the old woman. But I would also say that part of that I do think comes, the older that you get, I believe the more that you want to, again, have impact and extend your impact. Because you do start to think about legacy. What am I going to leave here in the earth for the next generation? That's just very important to me, to have a lasting legacy that makes it better for future generations that are coming along. And so I live life more deliberately in terms of determining what I'm going to spend my time on, work-wise, outside of work, family-wise. That's really important to me. And I would also say that it's more fulfilling, right? Because I'm leaning in to those things that, I really want to do, right? I just want to do with my life. And along the theme of not having to have all the answers, I am a person who does like to do a lot of different things, right? I'm kind of, you might even say I'm all over the place, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because I was listening to an interview with Rihanna once, and she described herself that way. I said, okay, I'm in good company. Kind of just all, I just like to do a lot of different things, and sometimes they're very different things. I like to work. I love working with children. I have a passion around working with and developing children. I also love statistics and numbers and data and research, And so I allow myself to really extend into those things. I don't feel pressure like I can only focus here. I allow myself the grace to engage across the myriad of things that I'm interested in. The common denominator, though, for me is this going to have impact? Is this going to be meaningful for people beyond myself, right? Is it going to be a meaningful contribution to the whole of society?
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I love that. I mean, I think it's okay to be all over the place, right? I mean, if Rihanna is, and look, she's a billionaire, so I think we're going the right way. So yeah, I like that trajectory, but I just have one last question, to the woman who's listening to your episode. She may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
The one tip that I would give to someone, what I think actually just goes back to my quote, and which is to be true to yourself. Let that always be your North Star, which means that you have to check in with yourself. I think one of the things that I've learned to do, and this has even been probably in the last couple of years, is to kind of even step outside of myself and look at myself as a person, right? And just kind of, observe my own self. If you do meditation, you get a lot of coaching to do that in meditation, but just kind of observe myself and my thoughts and feeling, not judging them, but just really observing and understanding, seeking to understand who I am, and to be deliberate about loving the person that I am. Because so many people don't love themselves, right? We know that, right? So, to just kind of, fall in love with yourself as you get to know yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think that's so important. It's such an important foundation of self-confidence. And then you can start to say, hey, if this were a friend, what advice would you give the friend? If this was a friend, would you talk to your friend that way? Right? The way we talk to ourselves. Would you talk to your friend? Would you talk to your mom about that way? So those are kinds of things as we start to see ourselves as people, as a person that we are to honor and take care of.
I love that. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Sure, you can find me on LinkedIn under Charlene Vickers.
Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Charlene, you can also head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Charlene's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I just really want to thank Charlene today for taking the time to share her story and wisdom on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Charlene.
Thank you. And again, thank you for this opportunity. It was great to connect with you. And I hope what I've shared inspires my fellow women sisters to really, really lean into the amazing and great women that you are.
Thank you. It was such an honor to have you on the show today. And to our listeners, Be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. You can order your copy of Asian Women Who Boss Up book by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.